So Roma probably benefited the most from this Deadeye update, at least at tier 8 kind of thing. Um, I'm trying to think of another battleship that would benefit more than a Roma would from Deadeye. It's pretty hard. This ship traditionally has had poor accuracy, but otherwise very nice guns, being fast turret traverse, having good shell velocity, good pen. The hull is amazing because you take essentially no damage when you're angled. The hull is just awesome. This is basically what the Soviet battleships are based on. I would say is a Roma. And the nice thing about this ship is you actually get better concealment than the equivalent Soviet battleship, which is like Vladivostok, for example. So you actually get 11.7 kilometers of concealment. So Deadeye makes a massive, massive, massive difference on this ship. And you're seeing here, I think, that the accuracy is really, really, really nice when, people are outside of your 11.7 kilometer range. And because 11.7 kilometers is so small relative to other battleships, you're closer to the fight and you're able to impact the battle more than a lot of other battleships that are that are still focusing on Deadeye, right? You're still focusing on Deadeye. You're just impacted in the game more because you're closer. That's kind of the problem with some of the other battleship builds where 14, 15 kilometers, you're trying to stay that far away from the fight, which means it's harder to hit things. You're less likely to tank damage for your team. But in a Roma, I'm right up here with everybody. As long as people aren't getting lit within my detection range, things are great. Obviously, there's people lit within my detection range right now, but I am thinking... I'm actually not sure on this, but I've heard a rumor that Deadeye is working while ships are spotted within your detection range, so long as they're not line of sight spotting you. That's the main thing I've heard. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening. I don't know how Deadeye works. It would be really cool if Wargaming would put a little icon in the UI to show you if Deadeye is working or not. It doesn't seem that hard to do, so I don't know why they didn't do it. Perhaps the patch wasn't completely thought out before they just ran with it with the rework. But regardless, there's a rumor out there that that's the case. I usually play like it's not the case. So regardless, right now we don't have Deadeye, so it's just normal Roma accuracy. But Roma accuracy matters less at closer ranges than it does at long range. Long range is where this ship has traditionally struggled. And for ships that struggle at long range, Deadeye is just such a blessing for them. It brings them into a more competitive mindset too. I would perhaps consider running a Roma in competitive tier 8 just because of its amazing concealment and now pretty decent ability to snipe things at long range. The nice thing, of course, is you have deck and upper belt armor that's going to be shattering basically all the HE that you face. So it's just fires that are really going to be the harmful thing for you. So it's unfortunate you can't take fire prevention with Deadeye, concealment, and the superintendent at tier 4. I really, really, really do like having 5 heals in a ship like this because your concealment allows you to disengage a lot of the time when you're getting low on HP. So the extra heals are just really nice for those scenarios where you're getting low on HP and you can recover back, 12,000 HP per heal. That's an extra 12,000 HP you wouldn't have if you didn't take Superintendent. There's an argument to be made that fire prevention is more useful, but I tend to play positions exactly like this, what you're seeing. Near islands, positioning myself so I can back up and disengage at any time when I'm feeling more threatened or pressured by the enemy team. Now, Roma, unfortunately, doesn't do amazing against torpedoes. It's still a battleship. You're not going to be dodging things like a nimble little destroyer. And I actually do a really, really poor job of things here. I eat 2 torpedoes. And a Kagero Torps hurt a lot. As you can see, we lost 3/4 of our HP and a double flood, so we have to repair that. Pretty brutal result there. We were doing a pretty good job of tanking before then, but that Kagero lined up a pretty solid torp run on us, so fair play to him. But we're not out of this fight. That's the thing about Roma, is just notice how I'm able to angle in this engagement and still stay alive despite having not very much HP to work with and all my consumables on cooldown. And this is the powerful part about the Roma, is just how tanky your ship is. You don't have the fast cooldown heals like a Massachusetts would have. You don't have the fast cooldown consumable style damage controls like a Russian battleship would have. But you do just have the raw tankiness of a very well armored battleship with very little superstructure. And that's the main key here, is you basically have one of the smaller superstructures at tier 8. So people with HE trying to deal damage to you are going to have a really, really difficult time dealing that. And staying angled, you will be bouncing most things that you face. Obviously, Yamato, Musashi, Shikishima are going to be ships that you want to stay away from because they'll just overmatch you through your bow. But there you saw, overmatching a Nagato there with our 380mm guns, definitely something that's possible. You will struggle against ships like Baltimore, Buffalo, Des Moines, that kind of thing. Obviously, they can bounce you at any angle, just like a battleship would if they angle properly, so something to be aware of. That's why I'm usually trying to craft flanks and angles like that to deal with the lower caliber gun. That's generally what you want to do. If you have high caliber guns, you can play almost anywhere you want to, and you're going to deal damage. The smaller your gun caliber is, the more you want to play flanks and try and get broadsides. Like an Iowa broadside, for example. That's a great target to have. These ships, unfortunately, really don't take much damage anymore. 20k, but you would expect more than 20k there out of an Iowa that's broadside at 9 kilometers. I think that's reasonable to expect more than that. But ever since Wargaming has decided to make citadels very difficult to hit, it's tricky to get damage against broadsides. As I dev strike a Seattle. So it's RNG based is what I'm saying. It's RNG based. It's not impossible. It's just, it takes luck. And whoever's luckier is going to either deal damage and kill something, or they're going to survive. That's the whole thing. You can see we're bouncing Iowa shells pretty reliably. It's hard for him to deal damage to us when we're angled because of the small superstructure. It's harder to get those superstructure pens like you would on, say, a German battleship or even some of the American battleships. You can get some pretty nasty superstructure pens. So that was the game. There wasn't really much else to that. I just wanted to kind of show how tanky this ship can be, even when you're on low HP. It's hard to take down this ship. It's really, really difficult. But the whole time, I was playing with my rudder, and I was playing with my acceleration, trying to throw people's shots off. Because I am a very relatively small target to hit compared to other battleships. I'm talking more about the superstructure size. Obviously, it's still a big ship, but if you're hitting the armored portions of the ship, it's not a huge deal. Now here, I was so excited. I was ready to line up a dev strike on this Riga and just start the game off incredibly well. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Some go low, some go high. It's still a Roma, and, well, it's still a battleship. Even battleships with Deadeye obviously are going to miss sometimes. But you can see how I'm positioning my ship. I want to talk more about this. To play Roma, you really want to get broadsides. You're needing to flank things, and you're really good at it because you've got reasonably fast speed. I think you're around 30 knots, actually. So you've got really good speed. You've got amazing concealment, so you're able to get into these scenarios really easily. And as long as you have a destroyer friend with you who's going to be screening torpedoes, DDs, that kind of thing, keeping them somewhat away from you, you're actually really, really dangerous on a flank like this because you're constantly going dark. I'm not spotted here. You're constantly going dark, and the enemy team might forget about you. They might not realize your guns are loaded, and they turn broadside to you. All these good things happen when you're on a flank and you're not lit up and being focused. So, you know, we've lost most of the caps. I mean, we only have our home cap, which isn't saying much. But that doesn't mean this game is over. Our flank can win us this game, because they do have a lot of ships invested in the B gap here. So if we flank really, really well, and I mean, having an Azashio with us will help things a lot. Again, poor dispersion can happen, so you can't expect amazing salvos every time. But with a good flank, you can turn a game around. You can see my team is kind of congregating north of C in that A area as well. So if we can build this flank and kind of slowly force the enemy team to start retreating back towards their spawn and south of C, they're going to be caught in a crossfire. Right now, they're reasonably okay, simply because that island between A and B is blocking some of the shots from my team into the enemy team right now. But the more we push up, the more this Azashio gains ground, the more I can push up, the more they're going to be stuck in a crossfire, and they're going to have to do something. They either have to push me, which puts them even more in a crossfire here, or they can start to run, but then I'm going to be charging them down at 30 knots with good concealment. And then they're going to be caught in a crossfire between us that way. So that's kind of the goal with positioning here. And you can see overmatching a Synops deck armor, pretty standard. If you don't know the armor values of ships you're facing, definitely give it a look in the armor viewer in port. It's a great tool to have. Look up what your battleship shells are capable of overmatching. As a general rule, 406s are going to overmatch up to 27 millimeters. So these are 380s. They'll bounce on 27 millimeters. That's kind of the main threshold at tier 8 here, is 27 millimeters or 30 millimeters. Those are the kind of two main thresholds in this game, at least at this tier. But we're dark again. You see that? So because we're dark again, we can push up. And because we have an Azashio with us, we're pretty confident that a DD isn't going to be able to sneak up on us and kill us. We're helping our teammate here in the Azashio to feel more secure and safe, because if a cruiser pops up or a battleship charges, that kind of thing, or they get surprised by a DD, they have some firepower backing them up. And for us, it really helps us to feel safe that we can be, stuck. We're pretty stuck here, bow in. If they decided to charge me, I would just have to sit here and take the damage that they have going at me, and I would just hope my team would be able to kill them. Because you do see I have a Colorado on the broadside, as well as a Fletcher here, which is some pretty solid backup. So that's why we're just slowly pushing the flank, not going too quick. The goal is to keep the enemy team outside of our detection range. Not only does this give us Deadeye, this also means that ships might forget about us, like a Riga that might just forget we're here. That kind of thing. Good things happen when you're not spotted. And that's why ships in the past, like Full Concealment Montana, have been amazingly powerful ships. Colorado gets a very nice shot in here. Props to him for doing that. I kind of wanted the damage, but good job for him. A little greedy like that. And the Tirpitz, not even really looking at us. He's just turning out, running away, because they have an Azashio to deal with. It's really hard for them to deal with that. You could see their DD was forced to smoke up, and so we know where the torps are potentially coming from. It's really, really difficult to play flanks like this. And it'll take you some time to understand which flanks are good to be on and which flanks are bad to be on. The main thing that's helping me on this flank is I have two DDs with me. If you're a battleship player and you see two destroyers looking to push a flank, or even one destroyer looking to push a flank, go with them. Play as close as you can without, suiciding, that kind of thing. Supporting your DDs is one of the best ways to win your team the game. And you can see my team has finally gotten into C, so the caps are kind of equal at this point, and we're doing okay. Now here I thought possibly the Tirpitz would YOLO rush me. That would be a play I would consider making myself, so I was hoping the DDs would have some torps in the water for them. And we just start backing up. Bow in, back up. It might be kind of boring playstyle for some people, but in a Roma, this is what you do. It's really, really difficult for this Tirpitz to deal damage to me. I'm even going to get so greedy to go, reasonably broadside to get my back guns in on the fight. Bounces right off my bow. Very nice. To note on the turret angles, they are much better forward than they are backwards. If you're kiting, if you're running from someone, I should say, then it's actually a lot better to time your shot for when the enemy isn't loaded. It's really important you do that because people can citadel you if you're getting all your guns off looking backwards and running from someone. You can definitely be citadeled in that way. Just because Roma has good armor when angled, it has an above water citadel, pretty large one. It's more reminiscent of the older style, the older design of battleships, where they were pretty tanky when angled, but as soon as they gave broadside, they kind of just died. I'll be honest, I kind of miss those days for battleships and cruisers. I think it was great. Great fun when you caught someone broadside and you knew you were going to get a big hit. Now it's a little more up to RNG. So, but you can see our presence on this flank has done wonders for our team. We've gotten some really solid control over the middle of the map, and because we're here, this Tirpitz in Massachusetts can't catch the middle guys in a crossfire because they have to deal with us. Normally, if I wasn't here and let's say I was back with the Colorado, this Massachusetts and Tirpitz could push up to around where this Massachusetts is and focus on our Freddy in the middle, or perhaps on our Seattle pushing or something like that. You know, there's tons of ways where our team is in a worse position if we're not out on this flank. We're doing much more than just, you know, getting some damage and pushing a flank to have some presence over here. It's helping our team on other sides of the battlefield as well. So that's something to keep in mind when you're pushing a flank. Realize what it's doing for your team, if it's going to help or not. Because sometimes pushing a flank won't help. If this Tirpitz, Massachusetts, Sinop, Riga all weren't here, you know, maybe there's a couple ships here and they were ready to kite away, you know. Like, let's say it's tier 10 and there's a Thunderer and maybe a Destroyer over here. There's no point in pushing this flank because they're just going to run and they're going to give ground and you'll never kill them and you'll just die in the process. And what is it doing for your team? It's not really helping your team very much because you're gaining some ground temporarily, but you're actually not putting pressure on the enemy to create a crossfire. Because you're just going to die to the HE spam. So it's really hard to play these pushing games the higher tier you go, just because everything is just so much stronger. But it's fun. Roma's a really fun one to do this in because you have so much wiggle room with that concealment. It's just so nice. It's just so nice to have this sub 12 kilometer concealment. I really, really like it. And the thing that always held this ship back for me was the dispersion. I always was really, really frustrated with this ship because its long range dispersion was really bad. And you can see we got a bit unlucky this game in some ways, and we got, you know, some damage last game, and it's not all perfect, not by any means, but it's accurate enough that I feel good playing this ship. I like playing this ship in patch 10.0, and it's all thanks to Deadeye. And it's not Deadeye so that I can snipe, it's Deadeye so that when I have to snipe, I have the ability to do that. The ship still wants to be pushing and getting in close and that kind of thing. Its concealment should tell you that from the start. If you have good concealment and good armor, you should probably want to push up. That should be reasonably obvious. And that's what this ship is good at, as you can see. So if you've been struggling with the Roma a little bit in the past, I would consider giving this thing a shot again, if you have it in port. And if you're thinking of buying a tier 8 battleship, I would still probably recommend getting Massachusetts before it goes. I'm starting to warm up to that ship again, even after it's been nerfed here in 10.0. I've been having a lot of fun with it in Clan Brawls, actually, and you can expect a video on the Clan Brawls to come out sometime in the future. I've been having a great time in that. But it would, go Massachusetts, and then it would be a toss-up between Roma and Lenin, probably, for the next battleship I would recommend at tier 8. It'd probably go to Lenin, but Roma's pretty solid, honestly. The ship is nice. It's a very nice ship. It doesn't help you grind out a line yet, but the Italian battleships, they're coming. So to set up the Roma, it's the standard battleship build that I've been using. Because Roma doesn't have very good at AA, I'm not taking this. Like I talked about earlier, I don't really feel the need to use priority target anymore. I've just gotten used to playing without it, so I don't put the points there. Turret traverse is already amazing. Yeah, you don't got to worry about that. 30-second turret traverse, very, very nice. So I run vigilance because you are trying to push a bit in this ship. And torpedoes can start to be a problem because you don't have hydro. But otherwise, it's my standard battleship tank build. Go check out the video I made called 10 Best Battleship Build for 10.0. It's all kind of summed up in there, but Deadeye, concealment, just mandatory as a quick summary. And then emergency repair expert. I like it for the reasons given about playing around islands and getting more health in the late game. If you find yourself dying a little early to fires, fire prevention is also a very, very, very good skill. Ideally, I would have all of it, but that's not possible. Concealment, pretty standard. I mean, 11.7, just great. Damage control system mod 2. There's an argument to be made for rudder or propulsion, but I find it's pretty nice to have the extra ability to just keep fires from lasting on your ship too long. This should come as no surprise. Aiming systems, damage control system, and main armaments. Roma's a great ship in its American camo that I have on right now. It's a fun ship, and I would give it a shot if you have it in port. To buy it, yeah, like I said, I would probably still recommend a Lenin over top of it. And if it's out still, the Massachusetts is just awesome. I've been having a lot of fun with this thing in clan brawls, and I'm hoping that translates to random battles as well, but I haven't played it too much in randoms in patch 10.0 yet, so I'm not quite sure on that. But this ship is leaving, in case you're wondering, near the end of February. I would say around the 20th or something like that is when the next patch will come out, somewhere in there. And this ship will be gone, along with the Georgia, Thunderer, Småland, and Alaska. All those ones are leaving. So this has been and probably still is my #1 recommended premium battleship for tier 8. I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great day.